So imagine a video just goes completely viral today.
Oh, yeah. We all know how that usually plays out.
Right. You log on to whatever feed you use,
Yeah.
and right there at the top is a clip of a major politician, someone you definitely recognize.
And they're doing something terrible, I assume.
Exactly. Caught on tape, accepting a literal bag of cash in this dimly lit parking garage. Now, like 10 years ago, that is a career-ending event, right?
Oh, absolutely. Resignations by noon. It's the lead story everywhere.
But today, the politician's PR team just issues a single one-sentence statement. They just say, it's a deepfake.
And that's it. Instantly, half the country completely believes them.
Exactly. And the other half spends, 3 weeks screaming on the internet about pixels and lighting shadows.
We are basically living in an era where reality is just drowning in synthetic slop.
It really is. If you see a piece of evidence in a high-stakes court case now, your first thought is no longer, wow, that happened. Your very first thought is, wait, is that actually real?
It's a profound structural breakdown of society, really. Because the default assumption for humanity has historically always been trust.
Right, like you see a photograph, you just believe it.
Exactly. But that paradigm has shattered. We are shifting to this default state of extreme skepticism, where plausible deniability is just granted to anyone for anything.
And that brings us to the actual mission of today's deep dive. Because we aren't talking about, building a slightly better AI detection tool.
No, not at all.
We are looking at a master plan to mathematically weaponize the truth. We have a source document in front of us today called The Life Cycle of a Truth Packet Dylan Story.
Yeah, and we are going to map out what you could basically call the digital Iron Dome.
I love that term. It is a revolutionary system called verified reality, or VRA, and their entire reason for existing is to mint absolute truth.
I do want to set a very strict ground rule for us right out of the gate, though.
Okay, lay it on me.
We are not dealing in hype today. We are not talking about fighting AI with more AI magic. This entire deep dive is grounded in unbending, deterministic, mathematical precision.
Right, no hallucinations, no guesswork.
Exactly. It is about building an architectural fortress around reality itself, utilizing the laws of physics and cryptography.
I am genuinely staggered by the sheer scale of this technology. It completely flips the script on how truth is captured and, well, heavily monetized.
Oh, the monetization aspect is wild.
It really is. So whether you are trying to catch up on tech, or you're lying awake worried about the survival of democracy, or you're just insanely curious about the ultimate gig economy hustle.
This is the blueprint for the new reality right here.
Yeah, it touches journalism, law, insurance, artificial intelligence. It fundamentally rewrites how enterprise operations function across the board.
So we need to anchor this massive technological architecture to an actual human being.
Yeah.
The protagonist of our source document.
Right. His name is Dylan.
Dylan is just the perfect entry point into this world because he defies every single expectation of what a high-tech cybersecurity operative looks like.
Oh, completely. He is a local stand-up comedian. He has cerebral palsy, and he operates as an independent sovereign witness within the verified reality ecosystem.
That detail just floored me when I read it.
Right. You picture someone minting cryptographic truth to be sitting in a server room somewhere, or wearing some specialized $10,000 camera rig.
Yeah, strapped to their chest like a SWAT team member.
Exactly. But Dylan is a comedian used to working a room, reading a crowd, just trying to make rent. And he is running this mathematically impenetrable truth business on a $300 smartphone.
With a cracked screen, no less.
With a cracked screen. That is the entire philosophical point of the VRE system, isn't it?
It is. The Iron Dome doesn't rely on expensive proprietary hardware. The security is entirely in the software architecture and the physics of the capture.
So the platform genuinely doesn't care if your phone screen is shattered.
Not even a little bit. It only cares about the mathematical data streaming from the microscopic sensors inside that phone.
Okay, I want to get into those sensors, but first we have to address Dylan's actual status. Because if I'm a massive law firm hiring someone, I'm not just hiring a random guy off the street.
Right, you need guarantees.
Yeah. The source notes that Dylan holds a C2 verifier credential. And my first assumption was that this is just some, gamified badge. Like he logged in for 30 days straight.
Not at all. And that distinction is the bedrock of the entire platform's trust model. The C2 credential is not granted by a black box algorithm.
So it's not just an arbitrary engagement metric.
No, Dylan earned his C2 status through human-originated, market-tested performance. specifically by satisfying 25 actual paying clients in the field.
Wait, 25 separate real-world jobs?
Exactly. Real money changed hands, real clients signed off on his work doing standard verifications. It guarantees enterprise-grade trust.
So when a corporate entity agrees to an enterprise price on the VRA platform, they are paying a premium specifically for that guarantee.
Yep. They want absolute certainty that their verification is handled by a seasoned professional, someone who has delivered under pressure 25 times over.
Algorithms didn't vouch for Dylan, the free market did. That makes a ton of sense. It's human trust underwriting the digital trust.
Precisely. So Dylan is a seasoned pro,
Hmm.
and the source drops us right into a high-tension scenario with him.
Yeah, there is a municipal press conference about a highly controversial new highway project. The local political scene is just boiling over.
The mayor's about to step up to the podium, and the room is absolutely packed.
And Dylan is standing there with his cracked phone, but before he can even point that phone at the mayor and hit record, he is forced to establish what VRA calls the physical-to-digital bridge.
Right, and it starts with a mandatory sequence called the 3-flip-3 handshake.
Walk me through exactly what that looks like physically. He's standing in a crowded room. What does step 1 require him to do?
Step 1 utilizes the smartphone's selfie-facing camera. The app prompts Dylan, and it captures a rapid burst of 3 photos of his face.
Okay, so it's basically face side, just proving he's the guy holding the phone.
It does authenticate his physical identity, yes, proving that the credentialed C2 operator is the one holding the device. But that is actually the least impressive part.
Wait, really? What's the more impressive part?
From a cryptographic standpoint, those 3 selfies capture the PRNU fingerprint of that specific selfie camera sensor.
Oh, man. I stared at the acronym PRNU in the source text for a long time. Photo response non-uniformity.
It's a mouthful, yeah.
Can you break that down for me? Because it sounds like we are getting into microscopic physics here.
We absolutely are. To understand PRNU, you have to understand how silicon camera sensors are actually manufactured. They are printed on silicon wafers in massive fabrication plants.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
But physics at that microscopic level is just messy. During the manufacturing process, incredibly tiny microscopic imperfections are introduced into the silicon.
Like tiny variations in how the individual pixels respond to light.
Exactly like a ballistic fingerprint on a bullet fired from a specific gun barrel. No 2 silicon sensors in the entire world are identical.
Not even if they rolled off the exact same assembly line on the exact same day?
Nope. The way those specific millions of pixels capture photons of light has a unique, unalterable mathematical signature. That is the PRNU.
So the VRA app isn't just looking at Dylan's face, it's secretly measuring how the light from the room is hitting the microscopic defects in his specific front-facing lens.
Correct. It is cataloging the physical flaws of the hardware. Then the software automatically triggers step 2.
Which is what?
A prompt appears for the forward-facing camera, the main camera on the back. With a single button push, Dylan captures another burst of 3 photos facing outward.
Facing what? The room? The crowd?
It genuinely doesn't matter what the camera's pointing at. The environment is irrelevant. The software is purely looking for the precise PRNU silicon fingerprint of the front camera now.
So we have 3 shots profiling the selfie lens and 3 shots profiling the main lens. Why force him to do this incredibly tedious calibration right before the mayor speaks?
Because it mathematically binds Dylan's human identity to the specific hardware in his hands at that exact moment in time.
So you can't just hand the phone off to someone else after the calibration.
Right. And more importantly, you can't spoof the camera feed. The VRA app just calibrated itself to the microscopic physical imperfections of those specific chips.
It establishes the first impenetrable pillar of the bridge, proving who is capturing it and what exact physical device is capturing it.
Exactly.
But let me push back here. Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say I'm a sophisticated bad actor.
Okay, it's a state-sponsored intelligence agency, maybe.
Yeah, and I want to destroy this mayor. I want to fake a video of him saying something terribly illegal at this press conference, and I have unlimited resources. Couldn't I just spoof this?
How so?
Like, could I tether a phone to a supercomputer emulator, fake a camera feed, and pipe a deepfake straight into the VRA app?
That brings us to the actual capture phase. The moment Dylan hits record. And what you're asking about is defeated by what VRA calls defense in depth.
Defense in depth, meaning there's more than just the camera lens involved.
Oh, way more. Because the app isn't just recording video and audio. It is silently pulling a massive high-entropy payload of deterministic data.
High entropy. Meaning messy, chaotic real-world data, right?
Precisely. The real world is incredibly chaotic. When Dylan is recording, the app is logging multi-axis gyroscope telemetry.
Wait, so it's recording the exact physical wobble of his hands holding the phone.
Yep, it's logging acoustic depth parameters, parallax calculations, and perhaps most impressively, it is utilizing acoustic chirps.
Hold on, stop right there. Acoustic chirps. Are we talking about sonar? Like a submarine?
Yes, or like a bat.
Does the crowd hear this? Does the mayor hear this?
It operates largely outside of noticeable acoustic range for a human in a crowded room. But yes, the smartphone speaker emits these micro chirps, and the microphone measures how long the sound waves take to bounce off the walls and return.
That is insane. So it calculates that return time to map the acoustic depth of the room.
Exactly. And then it cross-references that depth map with parallax calculations from the camera lens to mathematically prove that the camera is physically moving through a three-dimensional space.
So it's essentially building an invisible 3D mesh of the press conference in real time.
It is mathematically reinforcing the verified 3D reality of that moment in that specific geographic place at that exact time.
Okay, so going back to my hacker scenario, I'm in my bunker trying to feed a flat 2D deepfake video of the mayor into my emulator.
If you try to feed a 2D deepfake into the system, it will immediately fail the parallax and acoustic depth checks.
But let's say I'm a genius. I build a full 3D simulation of the room. I fake the GPS data. I fake a gyroscope reading to simulate a hand wobble.
Right. The defense in depth philosophy dictates that spoofing one or two of these measures in a vacuum might be possible. But spoofing 10, 20, 30 different physical inputs simultaneously.
It stretches the feasibility of even a state actor.
Exactly. Because they don't just exist independently. They all have to agree with each other perfectly. The gyroscope wobble has to perfectly match the visual parallax shift, which has to perfectly match the acoustic sonar bounces.
Real life is just too messy to perfectly simulate without creating a mathematical contradiction.
Right. And all of this telemetry is hashed together by the phone into a single tamper-evident package. That is the truth packet.
Now, here is a detail from the source that just completely blew my mind. Let's say I try anyway. I run my emulator, feed in my deepfake, and try to upload it.
Okay.
On a normal app, a red error message pops up, right? Capture failed. Invalid data. Does VRA do that?
It absolutely does not.
Oh.
And this is a fascinating, almost aggressive architectural decision. VRA operates under a strict cybersecurity philosophy called the no rejection rule.
But wait, if I'm building a security system and someone hands me a fake ID, I kick them out. Why would VRA intentionally accept a forged deepfake? Isn't that polluting their own servers?
Well, think about it. If you reject a bad actor at the door, you do two things. First, you teach them exactly where the boundary of your security lies.
Ah, you give them an error code that tells them, my gyroscope simulation failed, let me tweak it.
Exactly. You allow them to iterate. Second, you let them walk away. The no rejection rule dictates that the system never rejects a truth packet during the capture phase.
So the hacker genuinely thinks they succeeded. The app just says, upload complete.
Yes. The VRA pipeline silently and securely ingests the spoof attempt anyway. But instead of routing it to the verification vault, the system instantly quarantines the entire packet into a segmented, highly secure honey trap.
Oh, that is brutal. I love it.
It preserves all that digital evidence. The system captures the hacker's IP address, the metadata of their emulator, the flaws in their deepfake model.
It basically turns an attack vector into an intelligence gathering tool for law enforcement.
Exactly. You have to know what the enemy is doing to maintain absolute truth.
All right, so Dylan's capture of the mayor is flawlessly authentic. The sonar checks out, the PRNU matches. But before we follow that packet up into the cloud, I have a very practical question.
Sure, go ahead.
Dylan is a stand-up comedian. He's an independent contractor. How did he even know to be at this exact municipal press conference at this exact time? And how does he make money from it?
That's a great question, because understanding the economic engine behind verified reality is just as important as the cryptography. Technology without a viable economic incentive does not scale.
The source mentions that the day before the speech, Dylan used a feature in his app called Submit a Tip.
Right. As a pro user, he can act as a localized scout. He understands his community better than a server in Silicon Valley ever could.
He knew this highway project announcement was going to be a total political powder keg. So he submits a tip, and then the system's Orion pricing oracle assesses it.
Exactly. The oracle is a programmatic assessment tool. It scans the news, historical data, potential licensing demand, and it instantly confirms the commercial value of the event.
And because it's high value, it generates what they call a track to internal platform bounty. How is that different from a standard job?
In a standard job, a specific client has requested and paid for evidence. In Track 2, there is no client yet. Nobody asked for this footage. VRA itself is internally funding the bounty on speculation.
They anticipate the footage will be super valuable on their public exchange later on, and because Dylan submitted the tip, he gets an exclusive 24-hour priority lock.
Right. For 24 hours, no other verifier in the city can snipe the job from him. Now, here is where the financial architecture gets very aggressive.
Okay.
Because it's an internal bounty, the moment Dylan captures the footage and the packet clears the initial server upload, he is immediately paid an automatic 10% performance advance.
Deposited straight into his Stripe Connect wallet, right. But from a business perspective, that sounds like insanity to me.
Why is that?
Why is VRA paying a cash advance for a video that hasn't made a single dime in the real world yet? No news station bought it, no lawyer requested it. It sounds like burning venture capital money.
On the surface, sure. But structurally, it is a deeply calculated investment. It's a small, non-refundable, upfront cash deployment to perfectly align the gig worker's immediate need for daily cash flow with the long-term asset value.
What does VRA get for that upfront cash?
In exchange for the advance, Dylan is structurally agreeing to a 50-50 revenue split on any future licensing. The much larger downstream opportunities will be split evenly with VRA.
So VRA puts a little skin in the game to keep the verifier motivated, but they secured a massive 50% upside on a piece of history that could go globally viral.
It incentivizes operators to constantly hunt for high-value truth, while VRA quietly builds a massive IP library.
Now, to fully understand this, the source zooms out to explain Dylan's origin story on the platform, what they call the 50-40-45 loop.
Yes, and this loop is the secret weapon for how VRA achieves global scale without spending millions on traditional marketing.
Let's say a regular client, like a law firm, requests a standard verification. Dylan claims it. The upfront settlement is 50% to Dylan, 40% to the VRA platform, 5% to his R1 recruiter, and 5% to his R2 recruiter.
Right. Dylan didn't just stumble onto the app. He was onboarded by a local agency principal, his R1, and that principal might have been recruited by someone else, the R2.
I have to ask, is this a pyramid scheme? Whenever I hear recruiter levels, I instantly think of multi-level marketing.
It's a valid question, but there is a distinct difference. This is purely a labor matching override. Whenever Dylan completes a client-funded mission, that 10% is carved out of VRA's side of the margin, not Dylan's.
So Dylan still gets his full 50% for the physical labor. VRA just takes a smaller cut to pay the people who brought him in.
Exactly. It creates a customer acquisition cost of absolutely $0 for VRA. They don't need a centralized sales team. Every time Dylan works, the people who brought him in get paid.
It's like a hyper-transparent Uber referral code built permanently into a smart contract. But the source is specific. This 5% only applies to the primary upfront settlement, not the downstream licensing.
We will definitely unpack that affiliate compensation wall in a bit. It's a critical design choice.
Okay, let's get back to the narrative on the ground. Dylan is leaving the press conference. He's got the sweating mayor secured on his cracked phone. And as he's walking away, he literally bumps into a guy named Joe.
Joe is a construction foreman managing a massive job site right near the press conference. And Joe recognizes Dylan from a standard verification Dylan did for him the week prior.
Right. There had been a storm, Joe's garage was damaged, and Joe's neighbors were having insurance nightmares over deepfake accusations.
Which perfectly illustrates the societal anxiety we talked about earlier. A normal person submits a photo to their insurance company, and the adjuster's default stance is, prove this is an AI.
So Joe hired VRA, Dylan showed up, and now outside the press conference, Joe has a new emergency. He notices a massive pre-existing fracture in the concrete foundation on his job site.
If he doesn't document it right now, his firm will absolutely be blamed for the damage later. He needs forensic-grade proof fast.
And this reveals what I think is the most empowering feature of the platform. Dylan shifts his app from track 2 to track 3, which is solo mode.
Solo mode basically turns Dylan from a gig worker into a one-man enterprise corporation. He operates under his own white-labeled storefront, Dylan's Dynamic Media.
So in this scenario, Dylan acts as both the verifier and the client. How does the money flow if he's both?
Dylan negotiates a price directly with Joe on the spot. He charges Joe a massive premium because it's an emergency, and Dylan pockets 100% of that negotiated enterprise markup.
Wow, but he still needs to use the VRA server infrastructure, right?
Yes. To mint the truth packet, Dylan simply pays VRA an upfront dynamic software runtime token via Stripe.
So he just pays a flat sauce fee to use the VRA pipes and keeps his entire margin.
Exactly. VRA captures passive processing revenue, and Dylan gets his premium. It gives immense structural power to everyday professionals.
Lawyers, insurance adjusters, real estate agents, they can all run their own sovereign truth businesses without building a billion-dollar cryptographic architecture.
It democratizes absolute truth. And there's one more layer. If Dylan ever decides to sell that secondary asset of the broken concrete,
I mean, why would anyone buy a video of cracked concrete?
you never know. A year from now, that fracture could be central to a multi-million-dollar city lawsuit. If that asset is sold, the default split is heavily weighted to the creator. 80% to Dylan, 20% to Bisbio, the parent company.
Because Dylan brought the client and originated the job entirely on his own. That is beautifully calibrated. Okay, so we've covered capture and economics. Let's look under the hood. The mayor's footage. When Dylan pressed export and seal, what actually happened?
It instantly leaves the local device. The data enters a dual-stage architecture, a bifurcated vault. Stage A routes to the mutable workbench on Cloudflare hot storage.
This is where the deterministic triage happens. The unencrypted media hits the servers and undergoes a ruthless audit. Pillars of truth, risk matrix, chain of custody hash tests. Now, I really want to pause here.
I know exactly what you're going to point out.
If I'm listening to this, I automatically assume a deepfake fighting platform uses a super advanced AI to scan the video for weird shadows or extra fingers. But the source document is incredibly adamant about this next point.
It is arguably the most critical rule enforcement in the architecture. There is zero artificial intelligence involved in this core authenticity check. It is pure math.
Why? That feels so counterintuitive. Why not use AI to catch malicious AI?
Because if you use AI to verify truth, you have fundamentally already lost. You are entering an arms race where generative AI models are always getting faster and better.
Because AI hallucinates and makes probabilistic guesses.
Right. If your defense is an AI detection model, it will eventually be outsmarted. VRA sidesteps the arms race by relying on deterministic math.
So VRA isn't looking at pixels to see if the lighting looks fake. It's asking a binary question. Did the ambient light hit this specific PRNU sensor while the gyroscope registered this tremor, while the sonar mapped this space exactly at this timestamp?
Yes or no? Math does not guess.
So is AI completely banned from the platform?
No, it is explicitly utilized as a post-verification utility. Once the math proves the file is authentically captured, VRA uses AI to generate a text summary or pull thumbnail frames, or for premium comprehensive audits requested by clients.
But never to determine if the packet is real. Okay, that's stage A. What is stage B?
Simultaneously, an encrypted version of the packet, the digital wax seal, is anchored to the Arweave permaweb.
Why not just use Amazon AWS or Google Drive? What makes a permaweb different?
Centralized servers like AWS can be altered or deleted by an admin. Arweave is a decentralized blockchain-based storage network. Once anchored, it cannot be deleted by anyone, not even VRA headquarters.
It establishes a mandatory 7-year forensic chain of custody. And how does that proof travel with the video file? If a news station downloads it, is there just a watermark?
It's woven much deeper. The visual files contain an immutable core with a C2PA sidecar.
C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. Major tech companies are adopting this.
Yes. It cryptographically binds the video to the Arweave ledger. If a broadcaster tries to script the metadata or aggressively re-encode the video, the C2PA sidecar is violently severed. The hash breaks and it loses its verified reality status.
And anyone can check this using the free desktop auditor, right? You just drag and drop the file, and it tests the SHA hash against the ledger locally.
You don't have to take VRA's word for it. You verify the math yourself.
To trust, but mathematically verify. Brilliant. Let's fast forward. The mayor's footage passed triage. It's about to hit the public exchange. We talked about those R1 and R2 recruiters getting 5% of labor jobs. Do they strike it rich when this political scandal footage sells for thousands?
They get exactly 0% of this downstream secondary licensing.
0. That feels incredibly harsh. They did the hard work of finding and training Dylan. Why freeze them out of the big payday?
It's called downstream isolation, or the affiliate compensation wall. And it's actually brilliant ecosystem design. You have to separate labor from intellectual property.
Explain the logic there.
Affiliates are compensated for labor matching. Their overrides are capped at the upfront primary job settlement. But downstream residuals on the exchange, that is intellectual property value.
The asset itself is generating value, not the physical act of recording it.
Exactly. The IP value belongs solely to the creator, Dylan, and the platform providing the infrastructure, VRA. If recruiters got a perpetual cut of all downstream IP forever, the ecosystem would become top-heavy and drain the economics.
So when a regional news network buys a Tier 2 non-exclusive commercial license, how does the smart contract handle the money?
The IP royalty ledger executes a strict 50-50 split. 5,000 basis points to Dylan and 5,000 basis points to HQ. Clean and unarguable.
But wait, before it hits the market, there is a massive roadblock. The mayor's press team realizes Dylan captured this disastrous footage, and they threaten aggressive legal action to suppress it.
Right. They would send cease and desist letters, threaten to sue him into oblivion. He's a local comedian. He can't afford a massive legal battle against a municipality.
But the source says they can't touch him. Dylan is insulated by a structural legal clause called the Guild Shield. How does a legal liability shunt like that work?
VRA is legally positioned strictly as an air-gapped technical intermediary, a digital common carrier like a phone company. You can't sue AT&T for a defamatory phone call.
Ah. The Guild Shield dictates that the end buyer of the data, like the news network, assumes 100% of the legal liability.
Furthermore, VRA absorbs all discovery requests. They stand like a wall between Dylan and the lawyers, insulating him from direct personal suits.
He's just an independent hardware node. Talk to us. Actually, talk to the news station that bought it. That's the only way a system like this works for gig workers.
Exactly, but the footage doesn't go to the news station immediately. There's a mandatory 72-hour dark window.
Because VRA paid Dylan that 10% advance, they withhold the asset from the public exchange feeds for 3 days. What happens during those 72 hours?
VRA's internal media division, Newsload, gets an exclusive, royalty-free editorial first look. They publish it directly to their local audience.
And publishing an exclusive political scandal generates massive ad revenue, which is ring-fenced for Bisbio HQ. Very smart.
It maximizes internal margins. But there is also a critical compliance step, the on-camera consent, or OCC gate.
Right. Newsload ensures verbal affirmations or the context of a public event are cryptographically locked to the telemetry. Once cleared, it finally hits the public exchange. And the purchasing news network is legally mandated by the smart contract to display VRA's watermark, right? The perpetual credit funnel.
Yes, they must broadcast the text. Reality verified via VRA protocol by Dylan's dynamic media.
The psychology of that is wild. Instead of amateur footage, the viewer sees mathematically verified. It acts as a zero-cost marketing funnel driving inbound enterprise curiosity straight back to Dylan and VRA.
It's a billboard that pays you to put it up. Now, syndicating to a news station is a great win, but the ultimate, most lucrative buyer for high-entropy reality isn't a news station.
Right. They are just the opening act. The ultimate buyer is an artificial intelligence laboratory. We need to talk about the existential threat of model autophagy.
Model autophagy is terrifying. Foundational AI models are beginning to degrade, hallucinate, and collapse because they're increasingly training on synthetic AI-generated data scraped from the internet.
The snake is eating its own tail.
Yeah. Exactly. To build better spatial reasoning models, AI labs desperately need messy, high-entropy physical data, the raw physics of the real analog world. But sourcing and clearing privacy rights for that is a logistical nightmare.
Enter the turnkey ATDL package, Algorithmic Training and Data Ingestion License.
The AI lab wants the structural JSON data layers, the gyroscope readings, the acoustic depth maps. So they purchase the ATDIL. Yeah. For a single price and download, they get verified reality, telemetry, and mitigated privacy rights.
It's a structural B2B monopoly, but there is a massive restriction, the anti-cloning wall.
Yes, it's a crucial legal boundary.
I love the analogy for this. It's like I give you the blueprints to my custom house to study load-bearing physics, but I legally bar you from building a replica of my house.
Exactly. The AI lab can learn how light bounces off a human face in a 3D space, but they're strictly legally barred from utilizing the asset for generative cloning, facial mapping, or voice synthesis.
They cannot build a deepfake generator of the mayor using Dylan's truth packet.
They can learn the physics of reality, but they cannot synthesize fake reality with it.
Okay, the tension peaks here. The mayor's opposition rival realizes this footage is gold for the election. They want to bury it exclusively so nobody else can ever use it.
This creates a literal programmatic race condition on the VRA exchange. A ticking clock.
And quick disclaimer, we are taking absolutely no political sides here. We don't care about the mayor's politics. We are just fascinated by the B2B conflict mechanics.
And the mechanics are ruthless. It's the BOO disqualified gate. The rival wants a Tier 3 sovereign exclusive license buyout. But if the AI lab executes their ATDL purchase first and ingests the data, the Orion pricing oracle permanently triggers a disqualified state.
Exclusive ownership becomes structurally impossible because you can't untrain an AI.
Right. To protect B2B agreements, an asset cannot be hidden away if it's already ingested.
But wait, Bizbio sees this race happening? They know the footage is valuable. Why don't they just buy it out themselves and sell it off market?
Because the software architecture enforces the platform purchaser restriction, an HQ buyer ban. If staff try to self-deal, the system throws a hard 403 forbidden error.
They're the toll booth, never the player. That's essential for marketplace neutrality.
So the rival SuperPIC beats the AI lab to the punch. The oracle calculates the baseline buyout floor at 7 times the projected broadcast value.
Dylan isn't a passive observer. VRA requires 100% unanimous cryptographic consensus. Dylan has to agree to sell his 50% stake.
And Dylan recognizes his massive political leverage. He logs into his portal, uses his exclusivity toggle, and inputs a custom floor override of $15,000.
He demands a massive premium, and the gateway dynamically pegs the final price to his override. The SuperPIC pays via Stripe. What happens to the packet?
It is irretrievably pulled from the public exchange. Only the cryptographic hashes remain on the Arweave ledger to verify historical provenance. All future third-party licensing is permanently terminated.
And the $15,000.
Split strictly in 5,000 basis points each. Flawless execution by the smart contract via the IP royalty ledger.
So let's zoom all the way out. A single, credentialed, independent verifier operating a $300 piece of consumer hardware documented a 15-minute civic event.
And from that, the VRA infrastructure generated capital across 4 distinct horizons. Solo mode SaaS fees from the foreman, potential Tier 2 media syndication, potential AI ingestion value, and a 5-figure premium liquidity event.
While VRA captured massive net margins without employing a single W-2 field worker or bearing vicarious liability, it is the ultimate cryptographic toll booth for the synthetic era.
Think about the global extrapolation. This technology empowers independent gig workers and lawyers with the unassailable power of mathematical truth.
It saves local journalism, allowing news stations to undeniably prove facts and end fake news accusations. And it protects global democracies from the paralyzing effect of deepfakes.
It intercepts the synthetic slop and ensures reality remains intact.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a lingering, maybe slightly unsettling question to mull over.
I know exactly the philosophical shift you're getting at.
If verified reality truly becomes the absolute gold standard for reality, what happens to all the genuine, honest moments in our lives that aren't captured inside a truth packet?
Right. What happens to the unverified?
If you don't do the calibration, if your phone doesn't capture the sonar chirps and telemetry, in a world where truth fundamentally requires mathematical proof, will unverified reality simply be assumed fake by default?
When seeing is no longer believing, only the math survives.
Definitely something to think about next time you pull out your phone to take a picture.